This is probably the only presidential library where you have the president's dad.
Yeah.
Do you think he would have been president had it not been for him?
Well, I wouldn't have been born had it not been for him.
There you go.
But, I mean, he introduced me to politics. I mean, had he gone to politics and turned out to be a lousy father or a lousy husband, I probably wouldn't have been interested.
Yeah.
And so they stand, side by side in bronze, two presidents, father and son, whose presidencies were intertwined unlike any others. A father whose public image was often at odds with what his son says is his true nature. Like a parachute jump on his 90th birthday earlier this year, it's the scene that launches a new biography our 43rd president has written about the 41st.
So what does the son say to an elderly parent who keeps jumping out of airplanes?
Keep jumping, man. His mother said, I'm glad your father's jumping out at the church we go to up in Maine, because if it doesn't work, we won't have to go very far for the funeral.
I pride myself that I'm a prudent man, and I believe that patience is a virtue.
He was dogged by critics who said in one way or another he was weak.
Yeah.
The word prudent was always associated with him. Newsweek magazine did a cover saying he had to confront the wimp factor.
Yeah. And I was furious. I mean, George Bush is a man of enormous courage. He's just not really good about beating his chest. But his life is one that is, if you analyze it properly, it's full of courageous decisions.
George Herbert Walker Bush was born to wealth and power, but when World War II came, he defied his family and enlisted on his 18th birthday. A carrier pilot, he flew 58 missions and was shot down over the Pacific. He married his sweetheart, Barbara Pierce, and after the war, Bush seemed destined for Wall Street. Instead, he chose the road less traveled, packing his family off to the rough and rowdy oil town of Odessa, Texas.
The oil boom in the 48s made housing pretty difficult to find. He goes down there and finds a duplex for Mother and me and himself, and had an indoor plumbing, one of the few indoor bathrooms in Odessa, and we shared the bathroom with two hookers. I delight in the imagery of East Coast comfort to, two ladies of the night sharing a bathroom with George and Barbara and little George W. He wasn't looking for comfort, he was looking for challenge, and found it.
He struck it big in the oil fields, but the Connecticut Yankee drilled some dry holes in Texas politics before he finally won a seat in Congress.
As a father and a family man, I know you and I share a lot of worries about the future of our state and nation.
The GOP pegged him as a rising star, which led to appointment as UN ambassador, chairman of the Republican Party, U.S. envoy to China, and director of the CIA. In 1980, moderates in his party urged Bush to run for president, and he came charging out of the gate.
What we'll have, you see, is momentum. We will have forward Big Mo on our side, as they say in athletics.
Big Mo?
Yeah, momentum.
But Big Mo got rolled by the Ronald Reagan Revolution. Bush accepted a job he never wanted, 8 years as vice president. It was a calculated gamble, and in 1988, it paid off.
Texas cast all its votes for her favorite son and the best father in America, George Bush.
Bush won the presidency by promising to stay the course.
Read my lips. No new taxes.
But he took office at an historic moment. Within a year, the Berlin Wall came down. Soon after, the Soviet Union collapsed.
One of the unique strengths of George Bush is he had the capacity to put himself in the other fellow's shoes. And he thought a lot about what he could do to embolden as opposed to weaken Mikhail Gorbachev, because he felt Gorbachev was headed in the right direction in terms of not only the breakup of the Soviet Union, but as well as the liberation of Eastern Europe.
In 1990 came another call for liberation when Iraqi dictator Saddam Hussein invaded Kuwait.
Our objectives are clear. Saddam Hussein's forces will leave Kuwait.
Bush assembled a coalition led by U.S. troops that quickly won back Kuwait, but left Saddam Hussein still in power in Iraq. For Bush, victory was short-lived. Saddled with a flagging U.S. economy, he broke a campaign promise and raised taxes. It cost him support in his own party and eventually the presidency.
After the Gulf War, his favorable rating went to 89%. But then he was defeated in the election.
Plunged from 89 to 39 on the poll that really mattered.
At age 68, George H.W. Bush went back to Texas. But the Bush saga was not over.
Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, George Walker Bush, do solemnly swear.
That morning in 2001 suggested redemption, but history would once again overtake a Bush presidency.
Today we've had a national tragedy. 2 airplanes have crashed into the World Trade Center in an apparent terrorist attack on our country.
After striking at the Taliban in Afghanistan, George W. Bush turned to an old enemy, opening a new front in the war on terror.
You write in the book, when you decided to send troops into Iraq, it was not to finish what your dad had started.
There are very few defensive moments of the book, and that happens to be one, because a lot of people were conjecturing. Clearly, he had only one thing in mind, and that was to finish the job his father did.
Did you ask your dad for advice on this?
Not really. At one point in time at Camp David, he did say, if the man doesn't comply, you got to, follow through with what you say. It is too late for Saddam Hussein to remain in power. It is not too late for the Iraqi military to act with honor and protect your country by permitting the peaceful entry of coalition forces to eliminate weapons of mass destruction.
Were you surprised when you gave the ultimatum to Saddam that he didn't leave? Did you think there was a chance he
I really
leave?
did, yeah.
You really did
I
think?
did, yeah. When he was captured, I was told that the FBI agent that talked to him, he said, I just didn't believe Bush. And it's hard for me to believe he didn't believe me. But that's what I think that's accurate. It was just hard in retrospect for me to look back and say, I don't see how he could doubt my word.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any regrets about that, Mr. President?
Well, no, I have regrets that
I mean, do you ever feel that maybe it was the wrong decision?
No, I think it was the right decision. My regret is that a violent group of people have risen up again. This is Al-Qaeda plus. And I put in the book, they need to be defeated. And I hope we do. I hope the strategy works.
There's little doubt the volatile Middle East will provide a backdrop for our next presidential election. And with another of George H.W. Bush's sons, Jeb, contemplating a run, I asked former First Lady Laura Bush about the personal side of this political family.
What was it like marrying into this group?
Marvin Bush said it was like moving into Animal House or something.
Let me say something here on this. It was a huge advantage for me and a huge advantage for Dad to have married the type of women we married. Obviously, Laura's style is a little different from others, thankfully. Sorry, Mom.
You can't say that.
No, but there were both women who could handle the chore, and you never had to worry about it.
Is he Barbara's son or George Bush's?
Well, both, for sure. People used to say, or George did too, that he had his daddy's eyes but his mother's mouth. But both. He got the best characteristics, I think, of both of them.
Thank you.
No one in modern history has a better insight into another man's presidency than George W. Bush. He knows he could never be objective, but he says that really isn't the point.
And look, there's a lot of stereotypes in politics, you know. People like to create a portraiture, and, you know, a lot of times they really didn't understand George H.W. Bush.
Is that the reason you wrote this book?
No, it's a tribute to him. It's a bouquet to a guy I love.